Neville Goddard, Radio Lectures, 1951. Number 9, the last one, Affirm the Reality of Your Own Greatness. July 1951, Radio Talk 9, station KECA, Los Angeles. In the creation of a new way of life, we must begin at the beginning with our own individual regeneration. The formation of organizations, political bodies, religious bodies, social bodies is not enough. The trouble we see goes deeper than we perceive. The essential revolution must happen within ourselves. Everything depends on our attitude towards ourselves. Everything depends on our attitude toward ourselves. That which we will not affirm within ourselves can never develop in our world. This is the religion by which we live, for religion begins in subjective experience. Like charity, it begins at home. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind is the ancient formula, and there is no other. Everything depends upon man's attitude toward himself. That which he cannot or will not claim as true of himself can never evolve in his world. Man is constantly looking about his world and asking, what's to be done? What will happen? When he should ask himself, who am I? What is my concept of myself? If we wish to see the world a finer, greater place, we must affirm the reality of a finer, greater being within ourselves. It is the ultimate purpose of my teaching to point the road to this consummation. I'm trying to show you how the inner man must readjust himself, what must be the new premise of his life in order that he may lose his soul on the level he now knows and find it again on the high level he seeks. It is impossible for man to see other than the contents of his own consciousness. For nothing has existence for us save through the consciousness we have of it. The ideal man is always seeking a new incarnation, but unless we ourselves offer him human parentage, he is incapable of birth. We are the means whereby the redemption of nature from the law of cruelty is to be effected. The great purpose of consciousness is to effect this redemption. If we decline the burden and point to natural law as giving us conclusive proof that redemption of the world by imaginative love is something that can never come about, we simply nullify the purpose of our lives through want of faith. We reject the means, the only means, whereby this process of redemption must be effected. The only test of religion worth making is whether it is true born. Whether it springs from the deepest conviction of the individual, whether it is the fruit of inner experience. No religion is worthy of a man unless it gives him a deep and abiding sense that all is well, quite irrespective of what happens to him personally. The methods of mental and of spiritual knowledge are entirely different. For we know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, by comparing it with other things, by analyzing and defining it. Whitehead has defined religion as that which a man does with his solitude. I should like to add, I believe it is what a man is in his solitude. In our solitude, we are driven to subjective experience. It is then that we should imagine ourselves to be the ideal man we desire to see embodied in the world. If in our solitude we experience in our imagination what we would experience in reality had we achieved our goal, we will in time become transformed into the image of our ideal. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind, put on the new man, speak every man truth with this neighbor. With his neighbor. Let me repeat. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Put on the new man. Speak every man truth with his neighbor. The process of making a fact of being a fact of consciousness is by the renewing of our mind. We are told to change our thinking, but we can't change our thought unless we change our ideas. Our thoughts are the natural outpouring of our ideas, and our innermost ideas are the man himself. The end of longing is always to be, not to do. Be still and know. I am that which I desire. Strive always after being. External reforms are useless if your heart is not reformed. Heaven is entered not by curbing our passions, but rather by cultivating our virtues. An old idea is not thickly forgotten. It is crowded out by new ideas. It disappears when a wholly new and absorbing idea occupies our attention. Old habits of thinking and feeling, like dead oak leaves, hang on till they are pushed off by new ones. Creativeness is basically a deeper receptiveness, a keener susceptibility. The future dream must become a present fact in the mind of anyone who would alter his life. Every great outpicturing is preceded by a period of profound absorption. When that absorption is filled with our highest ideal, when we become that ideal, then we see it manifest in our world, and we realize that the present does not recede into the past, but advances into the future. This is essentially how we change our future. A now, which is elsewhere, has for us no absolute meaning. We only recognize now when it is at the same time here. When we feel ourselves into the desired state here and now, we have truly changed our future. It is this changing your future which I hope to explain to you fully next Sunday morning when I am speaking for Dr. Bales at 10:30 at the Fox Wilshire Theater on Wilshire Boulevard near La Cienega. It is my purpose to stir you to a higher concept of yourself and to explain so clearly the method by which you can achieve this concept that each one of you will leave the service on Sunday morning a transformed being. That's a heck of a promise. Discouraged people are solely in need of the inspiration of great principles. We must get back to first principles if we are to speak with a voice that will kindle the imagination and rouse the spirit. Again, I must repeat, in the creation of a new way of life. We must begin at the very beginning with our own individual regeneration. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that he can do anything. Everyone thinks he can do, everyone wants to do, and all ask what to do. What to do? It is impossible to do anything. One must be. It is hard for us to accept the fact that we, of ourselves, do nothing. It is especially difficult because it is the truth, and the truth is always difficult for man to accept. But actually, nobody can do anything. Everything happens, all that befalls man, all that is done by him, all that comes from him, all this happens, and it happens in exactly the same way that rain falls, as a result of a change in the temperature in the higher regions of the atmosphere. This is a challenge to us all. What concept are we holding of ourselves in the higher regions of our soul? Everything depends upon man's attitude toward himself. That which he will not affirm as true within himself can never develop in his world. A change of concept of self is the right adjustment, the new relationship between the surface and the depth of man. Deepening is, in principle, always possible. For the ultimate depth lives in everyone, and it is only a question of becoming conscious of it. Life demands of us the willingness to die and to be born again. This is not meant that we die in the flesh. We die in the spirit of the old man to become the new man. Then we see the new man in the flesh. Subjection to the will of God is an old phrase for it, and there is, but I believe, no new one that is better. In that self-committal to the ideal we desire to express, all conflict is dispersed, and we are transformed into the image of the ideal in whom we rest. We are told that the man without a wedding garment reaches the kingdom by cleverly pretending. He does not believe internally what he practices externally. He appears good, kind, charitable. He uses the right words, but inwardly he believes nothing. Coming into the strong light of those far more conscious than himself, he ceases to deceive. A wedding garment signifies a desire for union. He has no desire to unite with what he teaches, even if what he teaches is the truth. Therefore, he has no wedding garment. When we are united with the truth, then we will put off the old nature and be renewed in the spirit of our mind. Truth will strip the clever pretenders of their false aristocracy. Truth, in its turn, will be conquered and governed by the aristocracy of goodness, the only unconquerable thing in the world. Let us go into the silence. Man, oh man, I have to tell you, this morning, I went to bed late, didn't get up at 3 or 3:30 and then study and then go back to sleep. I was up really late, like maybe midnight, maybe 11. And probably 4:30 a.m., I had at least five different visions. And it was very specific. It was very specific on conquering achievements. Like there was, in this whole Neville concept, there's how to imagine a thing and imagine being it. And then, of course, you are it in your being, therefore, the manifestation is inbound. You're in the Sabbath, so to say. But let me go back. What happened first last night, before those 5 visions, was about, I think I went to bed about 11. I almost forgot this part, which was very amazing. I was in meditation. I was falling asleep in my sats, and I was doing a practice that I am doing mentally, where I am seeing 2 people that I'm going to be engaging with and talking to, and they're congratulating me, and I'm introducing my wife to them, and we're discussing some things, and I'm doing that. I think I do it. I drift off into a different pattern of whatever, dream, I don't know. I'm just drifting. Then I catch it and I bring it right back, and I imagine these 2 guys I'm talking to, and they're congratulating me, and I'm introducing them to my wife. Then I'm drifting off again, and I go off somewhere else. Then I pull it back. I did this probably 3, 4, maybe 5 times. But I was very conscious of bringing it back. Like Neville getting back at the bottom of that gangplank when he's going to imagine himself going back to New York, getting on that boat with his daughter, the whole idea there. So about the 4th time, maybe 5th time, I was really very rested on my right side. And what happened was I came into this full consciousness, just like Neville's Army letter, Army approval, exactly the same, because I've been studying that. What's the lecture called? I want to say it's called Concepts of God or Concept of God, or I'll look it up. But I immediately woke up, and what happened in my mind was the idea filled my mind. It is done. You don't need to do anything else. It is done. Don't do anything else. That literally filled my mind, just like Neville's mind was filled. And the lecture, just so you know, is called Acts of God. I'm listening in there, and in there is some good stuff. Acts of God, 100 kW. Acts of God. And I'm listening to that lecture. And then it finished. I was in the sleep state, state akin to sleep, pulling it back to my imagining. And then I was fully aware, fully awake. It's done. You don't need to do anything else. It's done. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh man. I was trying to bring back the imagining of the scene, but it was totally deflated. It's done. It's literally in the Sabbath. And I was told that. I was told that as bright as I could say Neville was told that in his army experience. I'm going to have to update you with this, and I'm not going to reveal anything until the actual update. So this will be later. You'll get this from me, but I'm totally transparent. I have nothing to hide about this. It's going to be a fun thing to reveal. But the point is, that overwhelming realization happened. I couldn't focus on sats anymore, so I had to get up. So I got up and I went to listen to a lecture. I studied for a little longer, and then I got tired, probably had 45 minutes to an hour, and then I went back to bed. Then overnight, probably went back to bed about midnight, I'm guessing, and then I had those basically 5 visions where, and this is hard to put into words. I'm just trying to give you the full realization in that state I was in was like as if there was these 5 different accomplishments that I knew. It was like I was in 4D again, but like these were like, I knew they were simple and easy to accomplish, and I just needed to put them right here on this shelf. I just needed to see them set. They're just set right there. This other one is set right there. Goals, ideas, desires. They were all different. There was 5 of them approximately. They were all different. And I was in a complete state of knowing that they were done. Like there's one, it's done. Here's one, I'm going to put it on the shelf right here. It's done. Here's one. And I was going over all 5 of these, and then I would finish the 5 of them and set them in their place. And I really literally knew it was done. And I knew the path to it being done. There was no blockade. There was nothing blocking. There was no lack of clarity of how these were going to be done, but they were done. They were 5 slices of being that I have access to that I just set. I set them, and I Ronco, set it and forget it. So I set it and I just forget it. I was literally in that, and this repeated quite a many times. I want to say, I would go through all 5 of these things, and then I would come back to the beginning. Then I would reassure. Don't know why I needed that, because I was already in the Sabbath, so to say. I would reassure, or I would set it again, or I would touch it again. Then I would touch this other one. I probably did it maybe a total of 3 times. I'm going to guess. But these concepts of being were fully complete in each item. And these were completely different from each other. They were literally radically different from each other. They weren't similar. They were radically different from each other, all 5 of these things. It was very, very wonderful feeling. It was a comfort. It was a elation. It was a relief. It was a very comfortable, kind of feeling. No worries. No worries at all. You got this. Yeah, so that was my morning today. Today, what is today? Today's the recording of this. This is Tuesday, March 4th, all right? So that's when this happened this morning. So this video might come out in a day or 2. So anyway, so that's it. That's what I want to give you an update on. I will update you on a few things there in future videos. Okay, we're going to see you in the next one.